of poultry
जी
there.
रिकॉर्डिंग
No,
चल रही
it was a tribal area. There was a
है। या
poultry.
मैम हम लोग पर रिकॉर्डिंग
Yeah,
रखना चाह रहे हैं।
sure,
या
no problem. So there was a disease, a poultry disease. There was Ranikhet, or I think it was Ranikhet only in those days. So I had gone and met the local animal husbandry department, and they said, "हाँ, vaccination करवा देंगे, no problem. We will help you out." And I went into the field, and the field of a tribal area in Udaipur. I studied in Haryana. I grew up in Delhi, and my education was in Hisar, Haryana, the Haryana Agriculture University. And that's flat land and highly irrigated. From there, Udaipur is hilly area and non-irrigated tribal area it was. Big contrast to production systems, to livestock. Now I can, do it. But those days, no one had taught us about looking at the landscape. We had one method and one kind of cure. We were taught to do it that way. So I went to the department and asked them, and they said, हाँ करवा देंगे आप बताइए. So they sent one person. He wasn't a doctor. He was a compounder with the vaccine. And we went. And those days there was a big, they used to tell people like me, animal husbandry, I mean, matlab, development वालों को आप साड़ी पहन के जाओ. You can't even wear a salwar kameez. साड़ी पहन के, keds पहन के आप चले जाओ. So I went with the compounder and some other people, and each tribal house was on top of one hill. So हम लोग ऊपर गए तो उसके ऊपर एक हट था. So वो हट में हमने बोला उनको, they had no idea why we wanted to do the vaccination we wanted to do. They just said, ठीक है आप आए हैं कुछ करना होगा. We went in and all the poultry came out of the hut. So we all ran out. When we ran out, all the poultry came back into the hut. So we couldn't even get, and we had no cooperation from the family because he absolutely had no idea what we were doing. So my first experience trying to get modern veterinary medicine, which was about getting vaccines, was a complete disaster. And there was one girl from Greece who was with me. She was also interning with the Seva Mandir, and she came and she was laughing away and filming us running in and out, because us time pe in 1986 जमीन आसमान का फर्क था between tribal areas and non-tribal areas, between a state like Haryana and a state like Rajasthan, between what was available, what was taught in veterinary colleges, and what actually happened on the ground. There was this huge gap, and nobody had told us about this gap actually. No one had prepared us for this kind of gap. So it was this gap that led me to start looking at livestock systems, not looking at what we'd been taught. And believe you me, all my textbooks were not written in India. Most of our textbooks were very good textbooks, fabulous textbooks, such fat textbooks. As a scholar, I was fortunate to have a scholarship. So from my scholarship, I was encouraged to buy books every year. So I had a huge stack of textbooks. I had the National Science Talent. But all this didn't help to understand what was there in the field. So already when I took up my master's in surgery, in Bombay Veterinary College, I was conscious of the fact that what we were taught in college, excellent, I mean, world class in that sense, I mean, the topmost college in India, which is a Haryana Agriculture University, actually didn't equip me to face what was happening in parts of rural India. That was a big learning after this experience in Seva Mandir. Anyway, we were very few women veterinarians, as you know, at that point. In my class, we were 4 girls and 70 boys. It wasn't easy. It was quite difficult. There was absolutely no talk about gender or anything. So I did my master's, and then I wanted to be a wildlife vet. I really wanted to go and, maybe in the jungles, tigers, but that was also not so difficult in those days. There was no real course of wildlife medicine. Then things happened. I finished my master's, and normally in those days, women took up a career in laboratories, or they took up a career of academics, teaching. That was what was told to women veterinarians. भर्ती हो जाओ गवर्नमेंट में, आपकी सैलरी कभी कम नहीं होगी और मैटरनिटी लीव मिलेगा. And most of us are told this, and I thought this is such a negative thing to say to someone who actually wants to be a vet. I went into veterinary science because I wanted to be a vet, not because I didn't get into medicine, or not because you know, I didn't get somewhere else. I went there because that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a wildlife vet. But there was no course for veterinary science in India, so it was okay. I mean, so I kind of made my way through this, and I found it was quite challenging and interesting to be actually a rural veterinarian rather than a dog and cat practitioner, which is the other thing they told women to do. You are in the city, you can do this. And then I, at some point, applied for a job in BIF, Bharat Agro Industries Foundation. And I remember I was interviewed by Shri Manibhai Desai himself. But even BIF said, by then I was married. They said, you're a married woman, you can't travel, you should be at home. So lab join kar lo, vaccine banao. I couldn't think of a more boring job than sitting in a lab producing vaccines. Although I'd had one bad experience with vaccines in Seva Mandir. And which is part of the reason that when my colleague and Sagri Ramdas, who also was with me in Hisar, came back from the US with a degree from Davis, California, we decided we'll do something different and set up ANTHRA. It's because we weren't really encouraged to do the kind of things we knew that rural India needed, the things that were needed, that we said that we'll set up ANTHRA and start working on projects which were close to our heart. So that's part of the reason why ANTHRA was started in 1992. Initially, we started it as a partnership firm because that's what we knew. So we started training animal health workers. So it was to bridge the gap that existed between formal veterinary science and the reality of rural India that we set up this. Think about 92, if you flash back to 1992, no mobile phones. This was not there. Very few roads, very few medical shops in most of the villages. There's still parts of India which are like that. I know that I'm in touch with villages where you still have to walk 6 to 8 kilometers to get access to maybe a near my medical shop. In some of the villages we work in southern Maharashtra. Maharashtra is supposed to be this very advanced state. We are in the southern Maharashtra, nearest veterinary hospitals are close to 32 kilometers away, 20 kilometers, 32 kilometers. Imagine an animal getting sick there. It is next to impossible to get the animal to the veterinarian. It is even more difficult. इससे और भी मुश्किल है to get the veterinarian to come to the house of the animal owner. Veterinarians बहुत कम है, अभी भी कम है इस देश में, और आते नहीं. They cannot come. And kabhi जानवर को can fall sick at any time. You all know that it can fall sick at night, it can fall sick early in the morning, and there is really no infrastructure for the veterinary service to reach the last doorstep. So we were amongst the first people to start training animal health workers. I started the first training program in 93. 1993 is when we started the first training program of, we call them animal health workers in Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh, along with my colleague, Sagri Ramdas. She is also a veterinarian. So when we started, now I think it's good to make mistakes sometimes, because from our mistakes, we can learn many things. So one of the things that we learned, so we had this training program. We got this very good curriculum. हमने सब किया था. All the knowledge that we had, we got together and we wrote out a curriculum. Every month we used to have training programs. When we had training programs in 1993, 94, no phones, and none of the families we worked with also had phones. So if we decided a meeting was going to be on the 16th of every month or the 17th of every month, it was decided. There was no हाँ हो रहा है क्या, अब आ जाऊं नहीं आ जाऊं, नथिंग। 16th को पहुंच जाते थे लोग, they would be there and they would leave on the 17th. So I would get 2 sessions, evening session and morning session. And we had a good training program in which we shared with the community what is health, what is disease. Even now, if you see the perception of disease kya hota hai? Many of you in this room who I'm seeing who are all well educated, I'm sure, know that disease is caused perhaps by parasites and viruses and bacteria and maybe genetic conditions or metabolic conditions. पर गांव में ये परसेप्शन नहीं है। गांव वालों को क्या लगता है, भगवान हमसे दुखी है, या तो भगवान गुस्से में है, या किसी ने किसी का नजर लग गया, बुरी नजर लग गया है, हाँ, someone is jealous of us. So the perceptions of disease as imagined by people in the rural areas can be completely different. And I will not make the mistake now of saying they're illiterate or stupid or backward. It is just that their worldview and what they've been exposed to has brought them up to believe that. Of course, something like COVID, which came, COVID abhi aaya 2-4 saal pehle, has made things very different. Now everybody knows what a virus is. Everybody knows what's happened. But how diseases are transmitted. But 92, 93 people had a completely different perception of what diseases are, how they spread from one person to the other, and what happens then. So when I did this training program, we gave them a little kit of modern medicines, which we purchased in Hyderabad and Pune, और लोगों को bottle में भर भर के दे दिया, very nice package kit we gave them. We said हर महीने आएंगे Pune या Hyderabad, we will refill the packets and give it back, and we'll also get to know. What happened was nobody came back to refill. And we were most surprised. We said, as our program a failure? So पूछा उनको. So those, and then we learned, some of them told us कि अरे ये दवाई है, हमें समझ में आ गया, हमारे गांव में दुकान है. So we can buy it ourselves. We don't need you to refill our packet. Good for me. But there were villages which were very remote. We had to walk 5 hours to get to those villages in the Western Ghats. In those villages, they said this is of no use to us because एक दो जानवर के साथ वो खत्म हो जाएगा, एंड उसके बाद क्या, हमें 1 महीना रुकना पड़ेगा, हमें 5 घंटे चल के आना पड़ता है नियरेस्ट टाउन तक बस पकड़ने तक. समटाइम्स मॉनसून के सीजन में देयर इज अ बिग डैम देयर, वी कांट क्रॉस द डैम, बोट चाहिए, बोट कभी आता है कभी आता नहीं है, सो वी कांट डिपेंड ऑन दिस. So when we heard this and the remoteness, we said, अरे अब क्या करें? The government was not going to, for these cattle, set up a veterinary center. It was not going to start doing anything there in those remote areas, villages. We knew that. And we had no, ANTHRA was unknown. We just started. Nobody knew us. There is a दो पागल लड़कियां आ गई हैं हमसे मांगने के लिए कुछ. So what could we do? I was already interested in medicinal plants. So I said, let's see if what happens. And then this is something I want to share with you because you told me this about governance. There is something very important that all of you can do every year, even now. You don't need a degree in veterinary science, and that is something called mortality and morbidity studies. हर साल आप टाइम डिसाइड कर लीजिए, आपके गांव में कितने जानवर हैं उसका एक नंबर ले लीजिए, how many animals each family has, and उसमें से कितने बीमार पड़ते हैं, कौन सी बीमारी से, let the community tell you the name of the disease, and कितने मरते हैं. This is very important because if they die, it's a huge economic loss. But if they're only falling sick and they get okay, the loss is not so bad. तो ये समझने के लिए this is a very simple tool. If you want, it's there in our book Bank on Hooves. You have it. You don't have it, I can share the sheet with you. पर हर साल it is a good governance practice to just get this because it tells us how much the livestock economy is it's an indicator of the livestock economy of a village or a hamlet. which is a considerable economy. And you can connect it to food availability, you can connect it to agriculture, what animals you have. Anyway, so when we did this mortality and morbidity, we found, बीमार तो पड़ते हैं, but they also get okay. इतने मर नहीं रहे. Why are they not dying? Why are they not dying and they don't have access to modern medicine? It came as a huge shock to us. I said, here we are with all this modern degree and theory and everything, and it's not working. Something else is working for them. So when we started asking, we realized that people had their own systems of medicine. People had their own knowledge. Traditional knowledge tha, traditional methods hai, traditional way of perceiving disease hai. And that is that body which is now known by the name of ethno-veterinary knowledge. That is knowledge which is of the community, belongs to the community, transmitted from generation to generation. It also holds farmers' innovations, creativity, and how they do it. So this knowledge which is there with the community is something which is very important because it's the first thing they will use. सबसे पहले जब बीमार होता है, farmer looks at what is there in their house, what is available in the garden nearby. So, and this is what we learned. So then we started the project on ethno-veterinary medicine to document it. And before we started this, the funders who gave us money to do it also said, you do a bibliography to find out what is the knowledge. And that was a very nice experience because it gave us the chance to study a lot of texts which existed. So through that, we got to know that India has a rich history of ethno-veterinary knowledge. Of course, we have the practice of Ayurveda, which has the Gaja Ayurveda, the Ashwa Ayurveda, the Go Ayurveda, which is the Ayurveda for elephants, Ayurveda for horses, Ayurveda for cattle. But also farmers have a lot of knowledge, and there were ethno-veterinary papers written. If anybody is interested, we have a book on it in ANTHRA. You're welcome to purchase it or let me know, and we'll try and get it to you. But this is an old book. It's written in 2000. So we studied it, we wrote about it, we sat in libraries, we studied. There were also texts in different, wonderful work that was done, not now, many 100 years back that was done with the knowledge given then. So we put all this together. We also started working with the animal health workers and healers at that point. And you must be aware at that time, the Honeybee Network was also taking shape, that Anil Gupta's Honeybee Network. Dr. Balaram Sahu, who you are all familiar, also started his work. I met him last week in Bangalore. He also began similar work, all prompted by the Honeybee Network. But we started on our own and we started documenting very rigorously the different practices. तो हमने बहुत सारे इकट्ठे किए practices of the community. We went very systematically because with the training we got from veterinary science, we went from disease by disease, system by system, as species by species, breed by breed, and we had excellent people to help us categorize it. So आता था छोटे छोटे पेपर में कागज के इसमें लिखा हुआ. We used to get all kinds of things, but the minute it came to the office, we would systematize it. We would put it into cards, into the computer, by then softwares were coming in. So we had Oracle, we had Access. We started documenting and systematizing the knowledge. With the result that we had by 2000, 2002, we had a vast body of information and knowledge, which was categorized, systematized, and put together. So then we also got a technical committee from IVRI, from from botany institutions, Ayurveda College, Kottakkal. Several people we put onto our, and veterinarians from other departments to come together and look at this body of knowledge and check and see if इसमें कुछ है कि नहीं. Now, actually speaking, in the veterinary science colleges before I studied in the 80s. So before that, say maybe in 1960s or so, a lot of medicine was plant-based. So students of veterinary science globally also would study plant-based medicine. There was a materia medica. By the time we came into veterinary college, wo materia medica, see, pharmacology textbooks are all this fat. That had been taken out, and we were learning about antibiotics. So we started learning a lot about antibiotics and how they use and what is important. So wo hamare, that became important for us. So, but veterinary science is not easy. We have to study a whole lot of stuff. So ye tha hamara. And so a lot of knowledge of medicinal plants. So when you say that I'm doing something different, ethno-veterinary is different, it's not actually, because students also learn materia medica. They used to learn before. We were not taught that. But then we, working with the farmers and the healers and the community, we got to know about so many new things, and we systematized this knowledge. We also asked, as I said, this technical committee, and in that technical committee, we had some very senior veterinarians, one of whom was Dr. Jaivir Anjaria. Dr. Jaivir Anjaria's father was an Ayurvedic doctor, and he was Gujarat में थे. उनका big contribution to veterinary science is a medicine called leptaden. Leptaden is a product from a plant called Leptadenia reticulata. जो it's a whale, almost all over India मिलता है. And Dr. Anjaria ने क्या किया था? He is almost 100 years now. 97 के आसपास होगा. He's still there, but now not in a good health condition. When he was a practicing veterinarian, he observed that in Gujarat, farmers feed their animals this whale when they are lactating, when they're giving milk, and उससे दूध बढ़ता है. So he got curious. ये क्या है कि सब farmers ये खिलाते हैं? तो उन्होंने उसके ऊपर टेस्ट करवाया, and he found that there was there was a special leptaden had a special property which did indeed increase milk yield. So he went ahead and patented it and got out a tablet called leptaden. I think leptaden is still available in the market now. It was available in the 80s when we learnt about it. So how did Dr. Anjara get his knowledge? Not from textbooks, not from fancy pharmaceutical textbooks, but from the people. So the communities had something. They were not illiterate, backward, or stupid as sometimes we are taught to imagine. They were very wise people who were using ethno-veterinary knowledge, which they learned from their ancestors. So taking this cue from Dr. Anjaria, we said, let us learn from the communities and let us see what they know. So Dr. Anjaria helped us a lot in systematizing the knowledge. He also had a lot of knowledge about plants because he was a son of an Ayurvedic practitioner. तो उन्होंने बहुत कुछ सिखाया हमें, and in the process we learned a lot about ethno-veterinary medicine, what works, what doesn't work, what can be applicable. And we taught this knowledge to the animal health workers because we learned from the community, we packaged it a bit and gave it back to them. And we were making medicines, and at ANTHRA we still make medicines for animals. We also wrote a lot of books. We said training programs honi chahiye ताकि लोगों को इसके बारे में पता चले. I know that Pradhan has purchased a number of books of ours on Bank on Hooves. We also had a book in Telugu, a book in Kannada. Then we have a lot of publications in Marathi. Marathi में एक बड़ा book नहीं, छोटे book है. And now we are making those things into little movies with an organization called Access Agriculture. So you'll find fever, ethno-veterinary medicine for fever, ethno-veterinary medicine for bloat available on the website of, I can just write the website on the chat box. And
Access, access.
Yeah, that's it. And just to tell you, I'm also making an app. I'm working on an app for farmers where this ethno-veterinary knowledge will be available for farmers through an app. So the technology has changed, the method of using it has changed, but because no one reads books these days. I've written a lot of books, but nobody is reading books. So we said, chalo, app bana dete hain. And somebody was interested in making it with me. So that was good. So we did a lot of this work in the early 2000s. Bank on Hooves was written by 2005. We had small books and things. So it was a very fulfilling moment because people would use the medicines and say it works. The problem that we had कि veterinarian आते नहीं है, veterinarian के पास हमारा गांव बहुत दूर है animal इसके साथ. It became very good. But Anthra's model was a little different from other communities, other development organizations. We felt that the community was at the center. The community had the knowledge which was local to its existence. So if you're in Orissa, you have some kinds of plants available for you. If you're in Jharkhand, you have certain kinds of plants available. If you're in the lower Himalayas, you have other kinds of plants available. If you're in Maharashtra and Gujarat, alag hai. South India mein alag hai. And you need to see what is available in which area. There was also a lot of worry for us at that point because landscapes have been changing. Land utilization change हो जाता है, forest कम होते जा रहे हैं, cropping patterns change, and for an agricultural graduate, weeds are a big problem. Not for us. Even every plant has a use for us. Every plant has some use in ethno-veterinary medicine because there is a story of a Buddhist saint who actually taught his best pupil. He said, "Go out and find me a medicine which has a plant which has no use." And the student couldn't come back with any plant. He thought he was a failure, and actually the teacher said, "No, you are right, and therefore, because there is no plant which has no use. Everything has some use in this ecology, which we need to understand." So that is the philosophy with which ANTHRA has gone. We have not tried to commercialize our medicines because हमने कहा ये community knowledge है and the community needs to have control and ownership of this. I cannot make money with this. And to date, we make some medicines. And we've been trying to teach you how to make medicines. That is important for us. It is not important that I have a huge company where I sell the product. It is important that every community in Orissa, every women's group, self-help group learns how to make their own medicines and shares it with the community in a cooperative way, in a nice way. So that was important for us. So we've also not had only, but there are some plants which are common. Tulsi, neem, or things which are in our kitchen ka dabba, masala ka dabba, haldi, jeera hai, dhania hai, kali mirchi hai, pan ke patte hain. These are somewhat uniform all over India, and these can be used for a variety of diseases. Pyaz hai, lasan hai. These are all very useful, and they can be used to cure quite a few diseases of livestock. And for us, that became very important. Masala ka dabba, every woman in the house has one in India, and she uses it, and can use the medicines from it. So this is, I think, for us been very important. But I'll now shift gear. I've told you about the past, no roads, no mobile, remote area. By 2010, all this has changed. India is a different country. Market penetration of pharmaceutical shops has been quite invasive. सबके पास धीरे धीरे मोबाइल आने लग गया है. If the Nara is bank account number, mobile number, or something else, ना आधार कार्ड नंबर, हाँ, अब वो नारा है तो सबके पास ये तो आ जाएंगे. And people have these numbers now for good and bad reasons. Another problem then has emerged in our environment. The environment has taken a huge beating, and we have started using a lot of antibiotics because the market penetration. There have been no laws in India to really prevent the sale of antibiotics over the counter, especially for animal use. The idea was medicine in the 80s, the idea was medicine should be available cheap for families and it should be available over the counter, so people should get it. Unfortunately, if you have that same rule applicable in 2015, it's a little bit of a problem. क्योंकि आजकल शेपर्ड्स हो, फार्मर्स हैं, खुद दवाइयां लेते हैं because there are no veterinarians. That has not changed in India. And they go, the chemist prescribes something, or the MRs from companies go and prescribe something, and they start using it. Now, many of these medicines are antibiotics, which have very specific terms of use. Huh? So they have to be used in a particular dosage. They have to be used for so many days. Unki use pe kuch, there are rules about it. But if you have not done a 4.5-year degree or a 6-year degree, you don't know what is a good antibiotic and what is not a good antibiotic. So people start using antibiotics. Farmers use it. Jab symptom disappear ho jata hai, they stop using it. And what happens is that antibiotic is shed in the eggs, the milk, the urine, and the stools of the animals. What comes in eggs, milk, and meat, we consume as humans who consume animal meat. The rest goes into the environment, either into the water or into the soil. What this antibiotic does is warns the virus and the bacteria ki, hey, I'm here. So it tells them ki this is there. And the virus and the bacteria are much smarter than you and me and the pharmaceutical company. And it mutates into a new form. And what we now have is antibiotic resistance or antimicrobial resistance. So AMR, you might have heard the word, some of you, antimicrobial resistance is a huge, huge problem globally. There are now medicines. We have tuberculosis in India, which is resistant to all antibiotics. We have strains of other diseases, human diseases, which are resistant to all antibiotics. And pharmaceutical companies cannot prepare medicines at the rate at which viruses and bacteria are mutating. So we have actually created a massive problem for ourselves. And COVID has not helped. It has only made the problem even worse. Because during COVID and panic, a lot of people took a lot of unnecessary medications, which should never have been used, such as ivermectin. Ivermectin doctors prescribe कर रहे थे. उसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं थी. People just needed good old paracetamol and vitamin C and rest and being calm and quiet. And maybe the usual tulsi ka kada, iska kada, uska kada. But there was such a panic and scare about COVID that people started medicating themselves with all kinds of unnecessary medications. So this has now become a huge problem. We have antimicrobial resistance. So when we heard about antimicrobial resistance, actually at ANTHRA, we said, we've got these ethno-veterinary medicines, which are an excellent alternative to antibiotics. While we cannot treat, I don't claim to be able to treat infectious diseases with with ethno-veterinary medicines. At least ethno-veterinary medicines help the animal control its, to manage the animal, first line of treatment, first aid ho jata hai, so that antibiotics can be used for the really genuine cases and not for every case. For instance, every case of diarrhea doesn't need an antibiotic. Diarrhea can be in animals can be due to various reasons. It can be bad nutrition. It can be something with bad management. So you don't need an antibiotic, but दे देते हैं. Veterinary doctor भी prescribe कर देता है, anti-allergy, सब कुछ एक cocktail prescribe कर देते हैं. So this is not needed. So we just need something which is sensible, and that's better for the planet. It's better for the health. It is better for human health. And with this, I would like to introduce one more term which you may be familiar with, which is One Health. In the last 4 years, 5 years, none of these terms are new, but they become fashionable. So One Health is being used a lot even in the Indian government. So we're talking about the fact that health of the environment, agriculture, humans, and animals are closely interlinked. You cannot separate the health of the human from the health of the livestock they keep or from the environment in which they live. And since they're so connected, if there's a healthy environment, you have healthy animals and human beings. And this, if you talk to any village person, they're going to say, of course, we know it. I mean, this is not rocket science. But sometimes those of us who've gone through a very high level education need to be reminded of very practical and commonsensical things. So, isme One Health is a huge thing. One Health also is, there are One Health missions in India now, and the government has received a lot of money for One Health program. So, the next development programs, next funding things will all be One Health. Because there's also a lot of uh, importance being given to animal diseases which go from humans to animals and vice versa. So I've spoken of a few. I told you about tuberculosis. अब tuberculosis का क्या है? हमारे यहाँ वेटनरी कॉलेज में सिखाया गया था कि कभी कच्चा दूध नहीं पीना. Don't drink unboiled milk. Usually the practice in India is we boil the milk that we get, even if it's pasteurized. And it's one of the best things to do because we get rid of the pathogens in the milk. The other thing is, many of you may be eating meat. Cook it very well. Pressure cook it. These are very simple, good methods of getting rid of microbial agents in the food, because meats can also carry tapeworms. Meat can carry other kinds of problems. So these diseases are transmitted to humans to animals and from animals to humans, and these can spread very quickly. COVID is an example, we also know. So this is now, One Health has become the big buzzword, it's become the fashion, and people are looking into how we can, what needs to be done for this. So for One Health, you need to have an approach where it's friendly, it's environmentally friendly. Medicinal plants and ethno-veterinary medicine is definitely environmentally friendly. You're looking at biodiversity. It's good for humans. We use the same medicines in humans. We've all know about the kadas and stuff. And it's also good for the environment. So One Health is what is now, you may all come to hear about it. And I think I'll just end with one small thing, and maybe you'll have questions. Is so as ANTHRA, I don't think I'm doing anything very old-fashioned. We're with it. We're right now doing what it is. I've never gone away from my veterinary science. As I said, I'm building an app now with some colleagues. And ethno-veterinary medicine for me is not a backward science, but a very forward-looking science, where you're taking what communities know, what people know, and actually building on that knowledge and coming up with very, very necessary treatments. Incidentally, our group, some of us have trained veterinarians in other countries, in Netherlands, in Europe, and have actually helped them sort out some problems they've had. We've had success there also. So ethno-veterinary is really a very positive thing for us. And yeah, maybe I think I'd like to close here what I've shared with you. And maybe if you have questions, you can ask me. Is that okay?
Yeah. Meantime, if our participant have any other questions, actually also let me just share some of the things that once I also entered into this ethno-veterinary subject matter, I also actually realized that each and every plant has value. Whatever the things that, because I was reading your book, Banks and Hoops, and I was identifying the the botanical name into the general name, and I was identifying, and I also know many of the plants because I am also from having village background. So that kind of understanding I had also, and I had shared it to Balram sir.
Yeah.
And also the other the book actually that you have written, the bank on hooves, and the two volumes. Actually, from a general layman's perspective, I actually quote it as a, for my understanding, it's equivalent to Bible or Gita in that sense, that it gives a very basic, simple yet comprehensive, considering all dimensions that actually affects health. And also not only that, but the approaches to community, the community work you were saying, the PRA methodology that you have adopted. So all these things that I have also shared to my colleagues, how have you found this book? So to me, it is of that nature, and I I have also taken almost many things, those plants which are available, and I could able to figure it out that this is the plant, and I have recasted and made books out of that in Hindi, in Odia, and also including some of the uh, things from Balram Sahu's book, also including some videos and in the QR code form, so that if anybody wants to have some deeper understanding of the symptom of those books and some disease, then one can use particularly. So this is the way we are trying to little bit of make these things and to available to the community.
Mm.
Uh, Anything you want to, yeah, you may come here.
एक क्वेश्चन है कुछ बात करना है मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि not only questions but also how you are all of us are working in the journey of home learning and so what kind of the thing you resonate with the sharing and the narrations that also some of you may highlight.
थैंक यू सो हाँ हाँ मेरा थोड़ा ऐसा बोलेंगे कि माई शुरू में बताया भी गया कि गवर्नेंस और लाइफ स्टॉक दोनों के तरह के लोग हैं, तो मैं थोड़ा गवर्नेंस पे ज़्यादा रहा है, बट लाइफ स्टॉक को भी काफ़ी क्लोज से देखा है क्योंकि साथ में टीम में हम लोग टीममेट साथ करते रहे हैं। तो जो जर्नी आपने शेयर की इट इज़ लाइक काफ़ी मोटिवेशनल और काफ़ी हमारे लिए भी ऐसा कि बिकॉज वी आर ऑल्सो इन अ लर्निंग जर्नी, तो न्यू थिंग्स वी आर डिस्कवरिंग और कम्युनिटी को और ज़्यादा जान रहे हैं। तो अभी फॉरेस्ट पे हमने काम शुरू किया है, तो ये एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग हमारी भी बनी है बायो रीजनल इकोनॉमी को लेकर के, या फिर हाउ लोकल रिसोर्सेज आर यूजफुल फॉर ऑल सॉल्विंग ऑल टाइप ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स इन द विलेज। सो एक क्वेश्चन जैसे मेरे माइंड में जो आ रहा था कि क्योंकि इस चीज़ से काफ़ी टाइम से एसोसिएट करते हैं हम लोग कि जब रीजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर भी हम लोग करने गए तो काफ़ी जगह हमने उससे पहले केमिकल प्रमोट किए, उसके बाद लगा कि नहीं दिस इज नॉट द फ्यूचर, एंड यू आल्सो शेयर दैट एथनोवेटिक प्रैक्टिसेस इज द फ्यूचर आई थिंक, और ये होना भी चाहिए बिकॉज मोर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट वन हेल्थ की भी बात अगर हम करेंगे। तो अगर हम रीजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर की तरफ भी मूव हुए तो वी सॉ अ लॉट ऑफ चैलेंजेस जब हमें शिफ्ट होना पड़ा, बिकॉज देयर वाज एक सिंपलर प्रैक्टिसेस सेटअप हो गई थी, कम्युनिटी को मिल गया सिंपलर वे, और वो उसका लिए मार्केट भी सेटअप हो गई और सिस्टम्स भी सेटअप हो गए थे। सिमिलरली जब हम लाइफ स्टॉक पे भी काम कर रहे थे तो हमने कोल्ड चेन्स इस्टेब्लिश की, काफ़ी सारे क्या बोलेंगे कि वैक्सीन हम लोगों ने गांव में इंट्रोड्यूस किए और उसको भी वहां तक पहुंचाया। तो व्हेन वी थिंक अबाउट रिवर्सिंग इट बैक टू दैट एथनो वेटनरी प्रैक्टिसेस और कम्युनिटी की उस नॉलेज को रिजुविनेट करके उसे वापस प्रैक्टिस में लेके आना, सो व्हाट आर द पॉसिबल चैलेंजेस जो आ सकते हैं? जैसे मतलब आर्य में तो हम रीजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर में हमने देखा है उसको लाने में बहुत सारे, तो इस तरह जब इस केस में लाइफ स्टॉक के केस में जब हम लोग अभी के करंट सेटअप वाले सिस्टम से वापस हम अपने ट्रेडिशनल एथनोवेटनिक सिस्टम पे जाना चाहेंगे, तो क्या ऐसे चैलेंजेस आपने भी कभी अगर प्रैक्टिस किए या मतलब कभी ऑब्जर्व किए, तो वो अगर शेयर होंगे तो दैट विल बी हेल्पफुल।
हाँ, बिल्कुल। आपकी जो बातें हैं, दिस इज, क्योंकि आप गांव में तो लोगों के नीड्स भी एस्पिरेशनल होते हैं। उनको लगता है पीछे नहीं जाना है, हम आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं। सो इन दिस प्रोसेस, वन ऑफ द चैलेंजेस जो हमें लगी है, बहुत बिग चैलेंज ये है कि आजकल लोग खुद अपनी दवाइयां बनाना नहीं चाहते। उनको लगता है ये वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम है। हाँ, तो हमने उनको बताया कि अरे डब्बे में है। आई मीन नॉट जस्ट फॉर एनिमल्स, इवन पीपल हु अराउंड मी, दे वुड रादर मेडिकल शॉप में जाके 5 पैसे नहीं, 5 रुपए दे के, 10 रुपए दे के गोली लेके आओ और गेट अ पैकेट, क्योंकि उनको लगता है दिस इज बेटर देन यूजिंग देयर ओन सेल्फ सफिशिएंसी का। ये मार्केट इकोनॉमी हमारा इतना बढ़ गया है। सो इन दैट चैलेंज, हाँ, इट इज अ बिग चैलेंज। तो इसमें because I've said it is now, we have to think of ethnovet using a more less chemical world or a more plant-based world as the way forward. It has to be, because if we destroy, अभी there are terms, climate change तो है problem, planetary boundaries की बारे में बात करें, we have crossed planetary boundaries in some cases. ग्लोबल वार्मिंग तो 1.5 तो इज कंफर्म्ड हो जाएगा, 2 डिग्रीज तक भी पहुंच जाएंगे। सो देर आर गोइंग टू बी ह्यूज ह्यूज चैलेंजेस। तो इसमें वी हैव टू बी एबल टू डू दिस। फॉर दैट the community's knowledge will take a little time to come there. अभी they are enjoying market economy के जो चीजें। So what you might have to do is have a self-help group or something like that, manufacture this in bulk अपने गांव में, make it into a kind of an enterprise for women to do it, and make it into a product which they can buy from the community. Say me, because Pradhan does these things, so maybe women get together, and मैं बोलूं आपको, suppose it is tick के लिए एक oil, हाँ, काफी simple oil है, उसमें नीम का तेल होता है। Maybe you have something little different in Orissa or wherever you are all from, but tick oil के लिए नीम का तेल है, करंज का तेल है, उसमें नारियल का तेल है थोड़ा सा, और उसमें थोड़ा सा कैम्फर डालते हैं, बैक ऑन में उसका पूरा फॉर्मूला दिया हुआ है। तो ये चीज यदि गांव में ही बना दें और मार्केट किया जाए in little simple bottles, I think that may be an enterprise, rural enterprise, which people can use. So convert some of these things rather than having them as individual uh, uh, people having to do it themselves in their house. कुछ community level पे उनको ये inculcate कर दीजिए, so they can do it. Feed है, feed वाली बात है, you want to have a feed supplement, or you want to do, आजकल वो डेयरी वाले कंपनी से खरीदते हैं, but maybe they can get together and make some feed by themselves. So these are some of the ways in which we believe we can have some changes. But there will be challenges because people today in the market economy want something very modern. उनको
थोड़ा
so
मुश्किल होता है।
they want it, but you have to tell them that this is not the way it is. And why package it in plastic? Why package it? Because plastic is bad for the environment. Why package it? So we have to be conscious of these things. But ये challenge तो हमें भी आया है। But आजकल we make the medicines, keep it in our office, and हमसे खरीद लेते हैं।
मेरे को भी कुछ आइडिया लगा, आई गॉट फ्यू आइडियाज।
हाँ, good.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
You're welcome.
So thanks, ma'am. At first, I would like to say that I feel privileged that within a week span of time, I have listened to you twice. We met in RLN network in
Yes,
Bangalore
yes.
last week. Yeah. So not a question, just I wanted to say you that your journey has inspired us. And in Pradhan, we have formed a group, professional development group, where we are learning about livestock theme. And as you discussed in your journey, many things are like same as it was at that time, even the thing has deteriorated. Like you have said that antibiotic का बहुत indiscriminate use हो रहा है. Ethnovet जो traditional knowledge always there वहाँ पे था लोगों के पास, वो लोग उससे शिफ्ट हो रहे हैं एलोपैथी की तरफ. तो bring back to that pupil and वो जो पर how we can work more comprehensively, that is the need of the
Hmm.
hour. So your talk has inspired us, and as a organization we are working towards it, and you will see lots of colleagues here. Half of them have graduated in this professional development course,
Mhm.
and I am also one of them. And this is not a something graduation kind of thing. This is just an initial of doing something more bigger and with a greater responsibility. So thank you again.
Most welcome. And I'm always there to, you can always count on me for helping. But
Sure,
जब
sure,
app
sure.
निकल आएगा हम बताएंगे, we'll let you know of the app. And the movies,
बिल्कुल.
you can please see the movies. And if you feel anything else और कुछ चाहिए आपको, challenge us, ask me, can you do it this way? So then it becomes something that we can work on.
Sure.
But it change होता है. My daughter is a veterinarian. She studied abroad. वो करती है वहां पे. So at that, पहले तो whatever mama knew was old fashioned. Obviously, when children come, they learn new things. The mothers are old fashioned. वो कहाँ पे herbs के बारे में बात कर रही है. But gradually, when she has seen the problems in veterinary science, even in those countries, and she's come to the belief कि there is a lot of wisdom and knowledge जो हमारे systems में है, and that is the future for us. We need to look there. So there will be some problems initially. People will find it difficult to accept, but gradually we are confident and sure of the success of our work. I don't think it should be a problem.
Thank you.
All the best.
So, my name is Ajay. I am part of the HRD unit of Pradhan. So, this learning journey, I am part of that also. So, Ajit we told that not because of the thematic knowledge, but also the way you have made your learning journey, taking a stance, etc. Those are very important apart from your thematic knowledge. So all of us had that. Most probably, many of us will pursue something, continue to pursue something that is important for us and maybe for lifelong. So thank you for your presence.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay.
All the best to
So,
all of you in your
yeah.
journey, and I hope you enjoy what you do and have good innings.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye bye.
Okay.
Okay, can I leave then?
Yes, yes, yes.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
And we'll challenge you after some time.
Sure. I like that.
एक्चुअली थोड़ा सा खाली जस्ट एक बता रहे हैं. आपने एक बार इंट्रोडक्शन में बता रहे थे कि कुंतलिका एंड अभिजीत were staying in her
Yes.
home at Delhi.
Delhi, yes. Kuntalika and Abhijit, yes. They've stayed for about 3-4 years. Yes, I know them also very well.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
तो सब लोग सुन दिए, तो कुछ कहना है?
इसको बंद कर देना.
अभी सुबह से ज्वाइन किए.
अच्छा सुबह से ज्वाइन किए.
देखा जाए. हाँ.
मेरा सवाल एक्चुअली एक दूसरा कंसर्न के साथ था. जैसे वो 92 में उसको पता चल गया था एथनो पे जरूरत है. हाँ, इसके लिए आगे बढ़ा नहीं पाया, बाकी चीज काफी होते गए, है ना. देयर इज अ लार्जर पॉलिटिकल क्वेश्चंस अराउंड इट rather than only technical.
टेक्निकल तो नहीं है, नॉलेज तो पहले से भी था, अभी भी है. So that's why, but pursuing something, it requires lots of. वही बोले ना,
मार्केट इकोनॉमी।
हम लोग वही चीज है, तो हमको थोड़ा सा सही पर्सपेक्टिव में भी समझना भी आया है कि व्हाई थिंग्स डिड नॉट हैपन, व्हाट वेरी नेचुरल इमीडिएट ना, जैसे बोला तो उसमें नहीं आता, लोग उसी को यूज करते है ना, एंड लोग उससे खुश भी था, इस हिसाब से काफी क्योर भी हो रहा था, वो नॉलेज था हमारे पास, बट कहीं ना कहीं उसको हम इग्नोर करके हम लोग एक दूसरा ट्रैक पे चले गए, एंड हम लोग अभी उसको रीलर्निंग डीलर्निंग करने का कोशिश में हम लोग काफी लगे हुए है ना।
Same चीज विथ also agriculture.
Everything.
Industrial agriculture.
Yeah.
पड़ा because of the required food sufficiency.
अच्छा ये comes तो एक part, but what is
इसलिए हम नहीं पूछे।
resonance? How are you thinking? What might be some of your takeaways? वही पीछे बढ़ के माथा में हाथ तेरे के कोई ठीक है बात। मेरे कुछ लगता है
एक्सपर्ट होने के लिए इतना मैंने बोल्ड होना पड़ेगा सोच रही थी।
नहीं, हमारा तो ग्रुप में चॉइस था, मोटा मोटी 8 साल तो बिताया है। सो लोग बोलता है 10 साल होने से लॉन्ग टर्म पर्सपेक्टिव अचीवमेंट मोटिवेशन में है, और 2 साल बाकी है। So there are experience and many people actually, so that's का खाली नाम दिया, but many experiences are in here also. ये जो orientation से to appreciating acknowledging something within, that is very important. And जैसे वो भी बोलते हैं जो नॉलेज उपलब्ध उसको, नॉलेज व्यक्ति जो भी चीजें उपलब्ध है उसको एक्नॉलेज करना जरूरी है। बाहर में कुछ अच्छा दिखता है बोल के तो my proposal would be to discover something within this group also. It's important. There are people who have initiated journey. There are people who have made journey for a longer period. So those experiences are very important for success of us, not only outside. All
एक जो को लगा जो what she has identified at that point of time, she pursued that till today. I think that's a very, I think the commitment है and एक purpose driven है. That was quite visible from her narration and also the body language. I think that's very encouraging, motivating. The way she was narrating the whole journey and एक उस समय में एक तो अंडरस्टैंड करके उसके साथ कनेक्ट करके लेके जाना, आई थिंक दैट्स वेरी मोटिवेटिंग।
एंड ऑल्सो जो हम लोग एक तरीके से बोलते हैं कम्युनिटी कनेक्ट, तो शी माइट नॉट हैव बीन वर्किंग ऑन ए रेगुलर बेसिस इन द कम्युनिटी, बट द कम्युनिटी कनेक्ट उसको ड्रॉ किया है टू चॉक आउट द रोड मैप, क्या समस्या कम्युनिटी में है, उसी को एड्रेस अगर हम इतना पढ़ा लिखा करके ये नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, so what are the other ways? वही जो ऐसे बोल रहे थे एनिमल हेल्थ वर्कर कॉन्सेप्ट को सामने में लाना है, तो मतलब हमारे लिए ना हम लोग, मैं तो बोलता रहता हूँ आजकल कि हमारा एक ग्रासरूट ऑलमोस्ट हर समय में गांव जाना doesn't mean that. So how to have community connect, being based at, let's say, महीने के लिए at Delhi also, and for all of us to pursue a so-called passions and dream. तो इसमें भी ये
भुवनेश्वर तक तो अभी हो गया है।
एक जो बोलना था कि जो बात से समझ आया कि मतलब सक्सेस तो ठीक है, लेकिन फेलियर को भी एक्सेप्ट करना और उससे सीखना इट इज आल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। बिकॉज उन्होंने 2-3 फेलियर की अपना बात किया कि उन्होंने दवा ले ली, उनको लगा रिफिल करने की, फिर आएंगे, नहीं आए, फिर उन्होंने सोचा, उसको एक्सेप्ट किया और उस पर फिर काम करने की कोशिश की, एक और उन्होंने बात किया। तो मैं अपना भी जर्नी देख रहा था कि बहुत सारे फेलियर्स मैंने भी देखे हैं, लेकिन कई बार हम अपने फेल्योर से एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर पाते और उससे बचने की कोशिश करते हैं कि नहीं ये हमको पेन देगा या हमको अनकंफर्ट कर देगा। तो रादर देन कि उससे दूर भागना, इट इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट कि हम उसको एक्सेप्ट करें और क्या ऐसा हुआ जिसकी वजह से फेल्योर हुआ और क्या हम और उसको बेटर कर सकते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है सक्सेस के साथ साथ फेल्योर को भी अच्छे से देखना, उसको एक्सेप्ट करना और उसके साथ जीना भी इम्पोर्टेंट है। रादर देन कि सक्सेस के साथ ही कि नहीं बहुत मोटिवेशन बहुत अचीवमेंट मिल रहा है तो फेलोर भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है। तो मैं उस एक उनकी बात से बहुत रेजोनेट कर पा रहा था कि कितना हम अपने फेलोर्स को भी देख रहे हैं और उसमें काम करने की कोशिश कर रहे
ये भी अगर हाँ दिनेश, एक और चीज है मतलब विलेज लेवल में अगर कुछ भी जैसे डिजीज आउटब्रेक होता है या कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम होता है तो मतलब मैंने ये चीज मेरे फील्ड में किया हुआ था। मुझे अचानक गांव से एक फोन आया, एक ही बकरी को मतलब पेट फूल गया। तो मैंने लेकिन गांव में जितने भी सब लाइफ स्टॉक कीपर थे मतलब बकरियां रख रहे थे, मुर्गी रख रहे थे, तो फिर मैं उनको बुला के वो डिजीज जो था वो आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए कोशिश किया। तो फिर मैंने उनको पाउडर भी दिया कि ये आप दीजिए, क्या होता है आप सब लोग देखिएगा, अगर काम करता है तो आपका अगर जरूरत पड़ेगा तो हम लाके फिर से आपको देंगे। और वो दिए, 3 दिन में वो बकरी ठीक भी हो गई। फिर वो फोन किए कि बकरी ठीक हो गया है करके। फिर 1 महीना 2 महीने के बाद वो गांव में फिर से वैसा एक हुआ। तो फिर वो गांव वो मतलब जो जिसको दिया था ना और जिसका हुआ था वो जाके वो आदमी को कंसल्ट किया कि आपके पास जो पाउडर था वो हमको दीजिए। तो मतलब हमको थोड़ा गांव में भी ऐसा रिसोर्स पर्सन कुछ डेवलप करना पड़ेगा जिसके पास भी ये सब नॉलेज थोड़ा होने से ना मतलब हैंड होल्डिंग सपोर्ट गांव में मिल सकेगा। any other thoughts, anything that touched you?
मुझे एक समझ में आया कि गवर्नेंस टीम वाले भी कैसे लैपटॉप को देख सकते
What he actually मतलब उसका डायरेक्शन में नॉट ओनली गवर्नेंस, आप तो फिर अगेन डिवीजन में गए। उनका पास में तो कभी गवर्नेंस दिखता था, कभी नित्यानंद भी आते थे, उनको एग्रीकल्चर जेंडर बनाता था। स्टार्टेड विद दैट मतलब young मतलब वेटनरियन women veterinarian और कोई मतलब स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम दैट तो जेंडर गवर्नेंस agriculture economy and the enterprise, individual enterprise promotion, group enterprise promotions. So all these things are together in that sense, but only thing that attracted they हमारा ग्रुप में एक डिस्कशन हुआ था कि हम लोग तो दुकान पे भी थे। When we are talking about the ultra poor, yeah, ultra poor बोले या जो भी poorest उनका बारे में livestock can be one of the important activity जो कि कम समय में कुछ रिजल्ट देना शुरू कर बट रिवर्स कुछ आया नहीं।
जो अजय बोले थे सबसे ज्यादा क्या टच किया उनका बात में, तो वो जब से आपने जर्नी शुरू किए हैं बीइंग प्रैक्टिशनर बोलिए प्रोफेशनल बोलिए, उन्होंने सारा स्टीरियोटाइपिकल चीज को चैलेंज करते गए हैं और जो फोर्सेस था, मार्केट फोर्सेस था या पॉलिटिकल सिनेरियो था उसको भी खुद को सेल्फ आउट नहीं करके अपना कन्विक्शन को with evidence from community, backed up with evidence that with experiences community का वो against the जो flow बोलते हैं करने का एक कशिश होना चाहिए जो हम लोग भी करते हैं। So that was very touchy from the beginning कि वो 90 लड़कों में 4 लड़की होना, then urban and rural में चॉइस करना, then उसमें भी लैब एंड स्मॉल रूमिनेंट और ये गोट कैटल वाला में चूज करने से लेके देन ये कन्वेंशनल एलोपैथिक ट्रीटमेंट वर्सेस एथनोवेट ट्रीटमेंट में, so each and every time she was challenging some of the existing norms and mindset that was actually very good.
उसमें जैसे अभी बोलो गवर्नेंस के साथ किस तरह का दूसरा जो एक चीज हमें काफी टच किया जो विदाउट सेइंग तो व्हाट सेड कि हम जो बना रहे हैं हम दवा का कोई कंपनी नहीं है, बनाना नहीं चाह रहे, हम कोई पैसा
कमर्शियलाइजेशन नहीं कर रहे।
कमर्शियल नहीं चाह रहे, हम चाह रहे मास लोग उसको प्रोडक्ट ये करें। आई थिंक गांधी जी का जो प्रिंसिपल है ना, प्रोडक्शन बाय मासेस, नॉट मास प्रोडक्शन, है ना। मास प्रोडक्शन होने से दैट बिकम सेंट्रलाइज एंड कुछ लोगों के हाथ में चला जाता
मैं एक्चुअली उसी के दिनेश को बुलाने के लिए भेजा था। दिनेश हैव स्टार्टेड ऑल दिस डूइंग्स एंड सम ऑफ यू आल्सो हैव स्टार्टेड डूइंग ऑल दिस थिंग्स। मैंने अभी जब मैं बोल रहे हैं तो थोड़ा और भी ट्रांजेक्शन डेवलप हो रहा है। हम लोग भी ऐप बना के रखते हैं, लेकिन हम लोग अभी यूज करने के लिए तैयार नहीं हैं, ना। हम 2 साल से बना के रखेंगे। हम ये जो प्रोडक्शन बना रहा है दिनेश करके बेच रहा है, मतलब नॉट कमर्शियलाइजिंग बट दैट थिंग्स मेकिंग इट अवेलेबल जो बोल रहा है। तो मैंने अदर थिंग्स वी हैव लर्न, वी हैव स्टार्टेड डूइंग। तो मैंने ये तो है ही, मैं तो इसीलिए उसी हिसाब में इसको एक काफी
है। लॉट ऑफ थिंग, जैसे भाई इसको स्टीरियोटाइप को चैलेंज करना, लेकिन इस तरह का जो बेसिक प्रिंसिपल्स है कि एम्पावरिंग द पीपल, उनका जो अप्रोच में दिख रहा था, आई थिंक लॉट ऑफ थिंग
Any few more phrases in
चीज जो लास्ट में काफी टच किया वो जो बोल रहे थे वन हेल्थ, सिम्बायोटिक रिलेशनशिप को जो बेसिकली करता है, जैसे एनिमल ह्यूमन एंड एनवायरनमेंट वाली, वो भी काफी मेरे को टच किया। इन द सेंस बाद हम जब एक्टिविटीज चीजों को एक वर्टिकल के हिसाब से देखते हैं, तो शायद वो जो इंटीग्रेशन है, वो सिम्बायोटिक रिलेशनशिप्स हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं शायद ये में चला जाता है। जैसे मैंने अगर हम देखेंगे सिर्फ रीजेनरेटिव ये को भी बोल रहे हैं, या फिर अलग अलग चीजें, तो आई थिंक ये तो इंटरकनेक्टेड है, सिम्बायोटिक रिलेशनशिप एंड हाउ वन इम्पैक्ट द अदर। एंड इसीलिए शायद हर व्यक्ति का या हर जानवर का एनवायरमेंट का बेसिकली हेल्थ is very important. वो काफी significant क्या है? That was very
बट ये वन हेल्थ जो है, वन हेल्थ अप्रोच जो है, ये हम लोगों में से कितना लोग सुने हैं या जानते हैं?
नहीं सुने हैं ना, हम लोग तो डिवाइडेड, न्यूट्रिशन डिपार्टमेंट अलग हो गया है।
नहीं बात ये गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत हर 1 साल 2 साल में कुछ बॉजवार्ड जो निकाल रहा है, मतलब ये हमारा इंडिया गवर्नमेंट का नहीं है, ये तो ओवरऑल चल रहा है। तो उसमें ये वन हेल्थ अप्रोच इज द सो कॉल्ड latest connecting environment, human health and animal। मैं इसीलिए खाली पूछ रहा हूँ, हम लोगों को प्रोबेबली इस तरीके का जो मैक्रो लेवल में जो ट्रेंड चल रहा है उसके साथ भी हाउ आर वी एक्चुअली इन ट्यून। क्योंकि आप कभी जाकर के कोई डिपार्टमेंट में बात करेंगे ना कि ये हमने आप सिंपली जाकर से बात करेंगे कि ये मसाला, ये पान का पत्ता, ये क्रीम लगाने से काम कर जाता है, that may not be appealing to a eye or something of a good veterinary doctor। आप अगर ये जो एंटीबायोटिक, एंटीमाइक्रोबियल रेजिस्टेंस, हाउ इट इज ग्लोबल कंसर्न्स, क्लाइमेट चेंज है, इसी को आप कैसे माइक्रो लेवल में लार्ज स्केल सॉल्यूशंस के हिसाब में कनेक्ट करके प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं। इसको अगर आप अपने आप में कनेक्ट करेंगे तो दूसरा को बोलेंगे, तो दूसरा को एक लार्जर पिक्चर एंड मीनिंग टू दैट समझ में आएगा। तो इसीलिए इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट, आप अपने काम का महत्व को अपने आप को अप्रिशिएट करने के लिए, so that you are that way also relating that how you are actually addressing a part of the global issue। So not only this, but सभी काम में, सभी टीम में ये होना जरूरी है, at least in program।
So क्या क्या चीज की तो कुछ बोलने जाते हैं
मैं
हाँ
आपने पूछा क्या टच
हाँ,
किया,
हाँ
तो मुझे दो चीजें टच की. First thing, her passion for this sector. So, and which she has actually continued. So many colleagues ask that this long period, long, and even she has not disappointment, after long period, it's not getting a straight, and each and every nook and corner of the country is not adopting that as good practices. So he's not disappointed about this.
Yeah.
He has a passion, and our next generation is also pursuing that idea. So that is also getting reflected. And her core belief that the change is possible. वो लास्ट में भी बोल रहे थे से आस्क क्वेश्चन, तो उनका ये कहना था कि challenges are there, but we need to find the context, the related context specific solution and make it a package which can be relevant to the community. So this core belief that the change is possible. I think these two things that's me. And third, which you have already told that whatever she has learned, practiced, she is giving back to the community from where she has learned. I think this philosophy that has just touched me. Though we are working on the same philosophy, but sometimes we also get derailed, do not continue that perseverance I see in her at a very high level.
Okay, so just to summarize whatever surfaced after her sharing, इनका पूरा नाम क्या है?
नित्या घोटगे.
Nitya Ghotge. So few things that surfaced. One is he starting from the fact he a person is pursuing something whether right now it's a passion and which involves not only success but many failures and struggles and the necessity of continuing to connection with the community, that is also one aspect that should be surfaced. पति एक तरह का बोले, दूसरा आप बोले, कम्युनिटी को देना. तीसरा ये भी है कि जो कम्युनिटी का नॉलेज ज्ञान कुछ है, इसको कभी कभी हम लोग पढ़ाई लिखाई का चक्कर में थोड़ा सा दूर हो जाते हैं. तो how one can reinforce that, which is and एक तरह का comprehensiveness considering different मोटा मोटी हमारा संस्था का क्षेत्र का थीम ऑफ टच करनी है. मतलब हेल्थ वाला बोले न्यूट्रिशन, क्लाइमेट का बारे में बोले, एग्रीकल्चर का बारे में बोले, राइटर का बारे में बोले, गवर्नेंस का बारे में बोले, मतलब जेंडर का बारे में बोले, ये सब चीज टुगेदर. So these are the some of the things that is being surfaced. And एक जो लास्ट में मोहिनी जो बताया था, it is any change process, yes, there is a belief change, but what the change for her seems to be breaking all the existing stereotypes also. And there are possibilities in terms of practically there is possible. It is not that one should go back, but developing apps, promoting entrepreneurs, etc. There are ways which we can develop with that. And in all the कुछ challenging questions है, तो अजित को पूछ सकते हैं. फर्दर कोई एस्पेक्ट में अगर डिलीवरेट करना है, कोई स्पेसिफिक एरियाज में टू ब्रेनस्टॉर्म करना है, तो अब दिस विल बी वेरी इंटरेस्टेड बिकॉज़ शी ओन्स this theme of her life. Yeah. So thank you. So we go back to the बाला मौसमी में सब लोग आए हैं. हम लोग अभी तक क्या किए हैं, जैसे बहुत कुछ किए हैं. जो लोग हम लोग